Is it possible to get rich in Africa without being corrupt? This is an age-long question in the hearts and lips of many young people in Africa, and of course from foreigners looking to invest in Africa. Can you succeed in Africa without engaging in some form of corrupt or fraudulent practices? First of all, we all know that Africa is a continent of 54 countries, each unique in itself. So it wouldn't be fair to assume that what is obtainable in Uganda will apply in Nigeria or Botswana. But we can still look at this from a more general perspective, which will apply to most countries in Africa. Before we dive in to answer this important question, be sure to subscribe to After School Africa for more insightful videos like this. Why corruption is attractive? For years, most African countries have been dominated by an elite class that feeds on the social hierarchy. The ruling class benefits from the dominance hierarchy, where there is a sharp difference between the people at the top and people at the bottom, because it increases their relative attractiveness and superiority. And these privileged people believe or pretend to believe that the rules of the game are set for every man to play, that if you are at the bottom, you can work your way to the middle, and if you are at the middle, you can find your way to the top, and it's all part of the game to have winners and losers. But depending on where you choose to look, and I make emphasis on depending on where you choose to look, you find that the people who make it from the bottom to the top got there through unexplainable means or by clear fraudulent and corrupt practices. As I said, it depends on where you decide to look. More on that later. Recently, the FBI had arrested different groups of fraudsters involved in multi-million-dollar fraud. These people had been role models to many young people who were attracted to their display of flamboyant lifestyle on Instagram, not minding their source of wealth. One of them even featured on Forbes 30 under 30 list. On the other hand, the politicians and ruling class intimidate citizens with their often unexplained wealth. And this leaves in the mind of young people the impression that you cannot achieve significant success in the country without illegal means. So in trying to move across the vertical social hierarchy, many young people are convinced that the only way is to look for shortcut in form of corrupt practices or crime. I believe this is a dangerous ideology that needs urgent and serious address. Is poverty the cause of crime and fraud? There is a general belief that poverty is the primary cause of crime, but that's a dangerously wrong belief. Studies have shown that what causes crime is not poverty, but relative poverty. And these are two really different things. Poverty is when you don't have enough to eat and take care of your basic need. Relative poverty is when you feel poorer because the next person has a much better life than you. For example, someone living in a comfortable home can afford 3 meals a day and basic healthcare, feeling poor because his neighbor drives a better car and lives in a bigger house. That's relative poverty, and that is the major cause of crime, fraud, and corruption. Studies have shown the most popular being the Gini coefficient, that if you go to a place where everyone is poor by national standard, where there is low average income but pretty flat distribution of wealth, there is little to no crime. And if you go to places where everyone is equally rich, there is little to no crime. But when you go to where there are poor people, moderately well-to-do people, and rich people, a place with steep wealth distribution, then the rate of aggressive behavior that leads to crime gets out of control. So the excuse using poverty to justify the cause of corruption and crime is often invalid. We have people who have gone through worse challenges in their life, turning out to be great human beings, contributing to the society. We also have people who experience general life difficulties, resorting to crime. Poverty is not an excuse for crime and fraud. The danger of seeing every successful person as corrupt. Around 1880, the peasants in Russia, who were equivalent to slaves, were emancipated. The land was distributed so that many of the peasants could own farmland. Within a few decades, a minority of them who were hardworking and productive farmers had become extremely successful, producing huge proportion of Russia's and Ukraine's food. After World War I, in the late 1910s, Russia was in bad shape economically and people were frustrated. Vladimir Lenin, Russian revolutionary leader, decided to collectivize farming. So the idea was to pull all the lands together and have everyone farm collectively to eliminate wealth inequality. So the land was taken away from the successful farmers whom the people have always been jealous about their success. The people were happy about it. Their suffering had made them bitter. Bitterness made them resentful. Resentment made them vengeful. Then, a group of supposed smart people accused these farmers of being the enemy who have been stealing from the people. The people turned on these farmers, took everything they had, raped and killed them all. The consequences of that action was that a few years later, 6 million people starved to death. Here's the moral of the story. In any domain or field where the underlying measure is human productivity, you will find that a small percentage of people produce almost all the output. If you have 10 people working in a company, about 3 of them do half the work. And if you have 100,000 employees, 100 of them do half of the work. You can shout about wealth inequality all you want, but if you divide the resources of the world equally today, after a few years, the wealth will flow towards a small percentage. This doesn't make all those people bad or evil. Some people are just better at some things than others. It's dangerous to categorize these people as corrupt because of the magnitude of result they get. Instead, the smart thing to do is to learn what they know and how they do it. Not every successful person in Africa is corrupt. As I mentioned earlier, it depends on where you choose to look to find your answers. While there are many people who got their wealth through illegitimate means, there are more hard and smart-working people who we can look to for inspiration. But there are usually 2 main problems. 1. These people are often not as flamboyant or in the media as many young people would want. 2. Many people want easy money, but the road to this kind of success is a long and difficult one. Mo Ibrahim prides himself of never having paid a bribe as a businessman. Before starting Celtel, people warned him that it wasn't possible to do business in Africa with integrity, but he made a commitment to run a business free of corruption. To checkmate corruption, he got his board members to agree that nobody in the company could spend more than $30,000 without the signatures of the entire board, and they made sure to prove in every situation that that's how we do business. As a result, the level of transparency and quality of corporate governance enhanced the value of the company. In fact, Celtel's story is taught at Harvard Business School as an example of how strong corporate governance attracts a premium. Strive Masiyiwa refused to dance to the corrupt regime of Zimbabwe when he wanted license to start the first privately owned telecom company in the country. Instead, he chose the difficult path of taking the government to court. He could have easily avoided this battle by accepting prevailing corrupt practice at the time, but according to him, he wanted to prove that it is possible to do business successfully in Africa without being corrupt. Today, Strive is the most successful entrepreneur to emerge from Zimbabwe. On a larger scale, people like Mo Ibrahim and Strive Masiyiwa are some of many examples that it is possible to succeed massively in Africa without engaging in corrupt practices. I would have liked to mention the richest black man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, but there is a little problem with citing such examples. Many believe that he is a beneficiary of an extractive economic system where the government selectively favor a few people. His case may be linked to many others whose wealth is largely influenced by their relationship with people in power. The problem with these kinds of success as examples for young people to emulate is that it increases the impression that the game is rigged, that you need favor with people in position of power to be successful, a belief that stifles competition and innovation. There are many stories of everyday people like you who have created huge successes in Africa without courting favor from political power. Jason Njoku of Iroko TV, Iyinoluwa Aboyeji of Andela and Florida Wave, Vusi Tambekwayo, Ifeanyi Orajiaka of Green Village Projects, Ibukun Awoshika. Many young people who are silently creating successful companies in different industries in the continent, from agriculture to tech, fintech, energy, fashion, entertainment, and across every other industry. So yes, it is possible to get rich without being corrupt in Africa. The environment may be tough and sometimes unconducive, but you have to be willing to put in the work and fight in the condition. Thankfully, it is easier to succeed today in Africa than any other time in history. There is an expanding market, with more people moving to the middle class. You are no longer limited to your local environment to play the wealth game. You have the global environment a click away. With the internet, access to opportunities is more distributed than ever before, and access to media is more democratized than ever. Train yourself to see opportunities where others see problems. And most importantly, stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking for inspiration in the wrong places and from the wrong people. Choose your role models wisely. I hope this was helpful. We'll appreciate if you like and share this video with someone. If you're yet to subscribe to the After School Africa channel, now's a good time to hit the subscribe button. Until next time, your success matters.